So, hello everyone. So, thank you for being here today. So, in these presentations, I'm pleased to introduce a technique that we are using at Trainline that drive the creations of almost all the features we have been developing. And that technique is called feature toggles. So, before jumping into the content of the presentations, I just want to introduce myself. Yeah, means I'm important. My name is Pham, and I'm an Android developer at Trainline for 1.5 years. And I'm a part of Win International teams, and our team focuses on developing the features that target the European markets. And all of those features are covered by feature toggles. And that is beyond allow me to be here today on behalf of Trainline to introduce you that amazing techniques. And in these presentations, I'm gonna walk you through the definitions of feature toggles and the different steps of it. And then we will look into why do we use feature toggles, and then after that, I'll be covering how do we implement feature toggle at Trainline. And finally, we are going to see when feature toggle is beneficial. So let's get started. So feature toggle is also known as the feature flag, and this is a powerful technique that allows people to modify the system behaviors in production without redeploying code. And people tend to think about feature toggles as a solution to like deactivating or activate features in production. That is correct, but it's not complete. That's why I use the term system behaviors instead of system visibilities. And firstly, let's have a look into a high-level schema of how feature toggle works. So, in the majority use case of feature toggle is, as the name says, toggling features. So, in this use case, we have normally features that has just been deployed in productions, and next we will need distribution centers who has the control over the app or over the features. And these distribution centers is usually managed by product people to define the visibilities of the features. And then the user can experience the features or not, depend on the configurations of the distribution center. And this is the first category of feature toggle where the app receives a binary value true or false from the distribution centers, and then toggle the visibilities of the features. And next, we have the second category of feature toggles, where we define a different shape of the features. And at a moment, user can see a button in yellow or in red, or they don't see it at all. So just want to say sorry because here I open it in Keynote, so there's something that might be different, but here at one moment there only one behaviors be shows in the app. So that's the principle of the second categories. And the third category is that we have, as you see previously, all the users in the previous categories experience the same things at the same moments. Either they don't see the features, or they see the features, or either they see a button in yellow or in red, or they don't see it. And now there are third categories where users are divided into different groups, and each group will experience a different versions of the app. And the criteria for user distributions are usually found in these metrics, like geolocations, languages, time zones, app versions, and so on. Even though there are different categories, the technical fundamental of feature toggle stay the same, where we have the app receiving a value or a configuration from a distribution centers and change the behavior of the features according to that. And based on the type of the value received from that server, from that distribution centers, this type of value will shape the category of the feature toggles. Either it's a binary values, true or false, or it's a behavior values, yellow, red, or none, or a user category values, user in the France or in the UK, etc. And in software development, we talk about problem and solutions. Feature toggle is a solution. So let's see what are the problems that feature toggle is trying to resolve. So there are different reasons. The first reason for wanting to use feature toggle is, as the name says, the ability to flexibly activate and deactivate features. And there are a few scenarios for toggling a feature toggle. Firstly, it's about timing. Sometimes there's some feature that only makes sense during a specific period, and that period might be a season, a sales seasons, a summer days or a summer holiday, sorry, or a strike day. And if we only rely on the deployment timings, especially the mobile app deployment timings, we are dead. And who can be sure that submitting the app today will make the app available tomorrow? Or what do we do if we need a feature 8 to available today, and then tomorrow we need another features, right? So we deliver periodically, not on demand. So let's take an example. In the last Christmas, we had a features called Christmas Feature Surprise, and where we show some beautiful flying snow animations. And these features needed only on Christmas periods. But the thing is, we don't release during Christmas. And we didn't have the feature creator team available to make the change in the code and deploy. And that's why feature toggle perfectly answers our needs in that situations. And the second scenario for toggling a feature toggle is a production assurance. And this is also the most important functionality of feature toggles. Once a newly deployed features end up producing regressions or even worse, crashes. So we shut it up with the help of feature toggles, and this will help avoid any further consequence or any financial damage for the company. And the second reason is that this provides the ability to remotely change the configurations. And again, this will help avoid redeploying the code, the app, with like redeploying the same features with just a slightly different shape of it. And this will give the product people the full control over what should be shown. What should be shown in the app and when should we show it. And if you remember this schema in the previous sessions, this is the third category of feature toggle, where users are divided into different groups. And then each group will experience a different shape, different versions of the features. And this is exactly the idea of A/B testing. And we compare the performance of each group, and then we conclude the most beneficial versions, and then we apply that version permanently. And at Trainline, we usually use A/B testing to confirm that a new features usually bring value for the users. That's why we often have two groups of users. The first group experience the features and the other ones doesn't. And the criteria for evaluating the performance of each group is usually the conversion rate. Why? Because money is important, and a good feature is a feature that generates money. And just keep in mind that the number of users in each group have to be equivalent in order the result to be accurate. And all of the previous reasons about improving the product qualities or ensuring the product safeties. And if you remember, in the title of the presentations, I mentioned that feature toggle is a Swiss knife, because it's offered more than just the control over the product. And in terms of development, it supports a very flexible branching strategies. And now let's study a typical branching strategy without feature toggles. So we usually have a main branch. In Trainline, we call it a develop branch. And let's say we want to create a features, and we start by creating a branch for that features. And that branch we usually call is a epic branch. And that features is huge, and we want to split it into a smaller task, a smaller subtask, and we create a branch for each of the subtasks. And these subtasks are based on the epic branch, and finally they get merged back into the epic branch. And once all the subtask branch are merged back into epic, we merge epic into develop. And the same thing for the other features. And everything looks fine, doesn't it? Actually, it's not. It's not fine at all. The problem is epic branches are lonely branches, and you might end up find yourselves consistently rebasing or updating with develop. And then finally, you have to resolve a lot of conflict when you merge from epic branch to develop branch. And secondly, the pull request from epic branch to develop contain the change from all the subtask branch, and that will be a very huge branch, and nobody wants to review that kind of branch, that kind of PR, sorry. And then people will end up producing some very poor qualities of reviews. And that's not good for the code base. And finally, this strategy will make the stakeholder think that we don't produce anything during a very long period of time. And that's not a good feeling. And knowing this downside of epic branch, at Trainline, we don't allow this kind of branch. And instead, we merge directly the subtask branch into develop. And there are no more subtask branch, but everything's become a feature branch, even if it's not a full features, but we call it a feature branch. And to be able to do that, we need to cover all the subtask branch with the feature toggle. So with these flexible branching strategies, it allows us to have a shorter development cycle where we can get the QA and feedback whenever a sub features is merged into the develop, and that will improve the development cycle. You can think about the development cycle of with and without feature toggles as the development cycle of the V model development versus the agile development. So this is usually called a trend-based development. The branching strategy is called trend-based development. And hopefully at this point, you are convinced that feature toggle is very amazing to you. So now let me show you how do we implement feature toggle at Trainline. Let's get back to where we were before. This is how our branchings currently look like. So as I said, we need a feature toggle to cover all the subtask branches. So before every feature development, we need to add a feature toggle variable to control the features. And then finally, there's one more step that we need to do, that we need to tidy up the feature toggle when we no longer need it. People tend to ignore this step because it's not very urgent. But if we don't do this, it will leave a lot of technical debt in the code base, and that's not good for the code base. And to make the app remotely changeable, we need a distribution centers, and there are many tools that support that. At Trainline, we are using Limplum, and there's some setup to create the connection between the app and the Limplum, but those implementations depend on the tool we use, so I won't mention it here. So now let's jump into a little bit of code. Having that, all the connection with a Limplum servers is set. So now we start by creating a variable to control the features. And behind the scenes, this variable will fetch the values from the distribution center or the lim server in this case, and remember that value in the app. And once we have this variable, we can use this to define the logic in the apps. Either it's the logic of the UI or the logic of the business. And then once we end up conclude with the behavior we want to keep, so we need to remove the variables in the interface, and also we remove the logic that we didn't select it, and now the features become a single direction features, and there are only one logic business remaining. So the fact that we have to remove the feature toggle after we finish, that fact will make the impact on the ways we code. And here are some notes so that we can efficiently work with feature toggles. So firstly, be prepared for removing any code you added. Any code include the unhappy part and the happy part, both of the way. We are not sure that we will choose the feature to put it permanently. So be prepared for removing anything. Secondly, don't over-engineer during developments, because your code we may eventually get removed it later. And maximize the decoupling of dependency to facilitate the removal later. Unless you want to add more technical depth into the project, into the code base, get to tidy up subtasks planned even before start developing, and then do it as soon as the feature toggle is no longer needed. And since we try to avoid over-engineering during the development, so the best moment to slow down and think more about architectural points is after the conclusion, where we know which part we'll keep in the app. So just do it right away. So now let's move on to the last question in this presentation. When should we use feature toggles? We went through numerous benefits of feature toggles, and in order to answer this question, we need to also consider some of the costs or the downsides of feature toggles. In general, feature toggles increases the complexities of development and code base, because basically you have to maintain different parts of the same features, and that's the complexity grows significantly when the number of features grows, and you may end up find yourself tripling the effort to do one features, because basically you do three things: maintaining the old behavior, developing the new behavior, and then removing one of them later. And with that in mind, feature toggle is not for every project. So let's get back to the main questions. When should we use feature toggles? But I would replace the question with another one that I think is more relevant in this presentation, which is, why do Trainline use feature toggles? So here are the reasons. First, we are a big team. We are around 40 developers in Android team, and all of us work on the same code base, and all are working on the same code base, and trend-based development allow us to efficiently collaborate. And the feature we ship are generally big, because it contains a lot of, not only the production code, but also a lot of unit test and UI test code. Our app heavily depend on the unit test and UI test. That's why there are a huge amount of test coverage in the app. So feature toggles allow us to decouple a feature into a smaller task, and then ship them seamlessly. And secondly, we are following the continuous delivery, and we deliver periodically with a cycle of 1 week, and feature toggle allow us to deploy in without waiting for the features to be finished. Thirdly, our apps have been in a stable state for a decade plus, and there are around 44 million users, 44 million downloads, and every single unexpected problem can cause a massive financial damage for the companies. So Feature Toggle can help us ensure the quality or the safety of the app in productions. And also having a large user base will help us to do the analysis and testing accurately. People often say that data don't lie, but it's not true. Data lies when we don't have enough sample. So that's why testing on hundreds of users will give we might end up giving some inaccurate result. That's why having a large number of users is somehow a requirement for Feature Toggle or concretely A/B testing. And finally, last but not least, we are a data-driven companies, and we are based heavily or only on data to make decisions. And so A/B testing will allow us to perform the testing or the analysis on different behaviors and then come up with the most beneficial for us. So that is me. Thank you for your time and your attention. So time for questions. Thank you.